Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, Life Coach Renee Young, and sitting in the guest chair today is Reverend Lisa Barnett. Lisa and I are going to be talking on the topic Unveiling Destiny, the Akashic Record Guide to Your Soul's Plan. Welcome, Reverend.
Thank you so much, Myrna. It's lovely to be here with you.
Yes, it's lovely to speak to you. And, I'm wearing yellow, which is like the color of the sun. And Reverend Lisa is wearing blue, and her background is blue, the color of the sky. So we're gonna be chilled.
We're having a
We're
beach
bringing
day.
in the Zen. Yes, so amazing. All right, guys. Well, listen, let me give you a short introduction. Lisa Barnett is the founder of the Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom, which has thousands of students worldwide. She has devoted over 25 years to sharing Akashic wisdom so clients can understand and align with their soul plan to find greater fulfillment, happiness, abundance, and health. Lisa is the best-selling author of Your Soul Has a Plan, Awaken to Your Life Purpose Through the Akashic Records, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, and From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. Now, that's the tagline for this show, so I definitely had to talk to her. So there's a couple of things that you are going to learn along with me, and that is, what is the Akashic Knowing, and what's your soul's plan? So let's get right in. Reverend Lisa, I'm going to call you all kinds of names on the show. Reverend Lisa, Reverend Barnett.
Oh, perfect.
So as we start off, can you tell us exactly what is the Akashic wisdom, and how can we embrace our Akashic wisdom?
Absolutely. So what we refer to as the Akasha or the Akashic records are the recording of your soul's journey through all time-space continuum. So if you imagine from the moment your soul individuates from source and it goes on this forever journey, this infinite journey, everything is automatically recorded and really uploaded naturally into this library. So Akasha is a Sanskrit word for ether or sky. And so if you imagine, I always like to imagine, like, I have this huge library filled with thousands and thousands and thousands of books. And we also have our own librarians who are in service to us. And they do nothing else but literally keep your library. So each and every one of us has this beautiful library with our own librarians who are helping us to understand who we've been, what we've done, what our soul actually planned for this lifetime.
All right, now this is probably a bit early to ask this question, but I ask questions when they pop into my mind. So when I hear about the soul and the purpose, I immediately go to where I am thinking that the soul is reincarnated. Like my soul came from somewhere else, right? And so are we talking about past life souls or this current life soul?
Well, because it's all you, we actually talk about all of it. So when you imagine that you have a library filled with books, each one of those books would represent a past life, basically. So most of us have hundreds and hundreds of lives here on Earth. Sometimes it's 400, 500, 600, 800 lives right here on this beautiful blue-green planet that we call our Earth, right? And some of those lives are in other dimensions or realms. So if you imagine that we live lives in between, that there are dimensions where maybe we're more angelic or less in bodies, we're more in etheric bodysuits. Sometimes we actually live in other realms, like other worlds, because there's so much out there, galaxy upon galaxy, millions or billions of galaxies out there. So we actually are big travelers. So when we talk about the plan your soul wrote for this life, it's really about what we came to do. And we call upon past life information, gifts and talents we've honed in other lifetimes, as well as soul family members or soul contracts that we want to continue working on. So because we're big, expansive souls, it's a little bit about everything that you have ever been or done that is culminating in your choices that are relevant to this life now.
Wow. Well, I think we need to back up a bit. So I started maybe in the middle. What was your journey to understanding this stuff? Because most of us, and when I say most, 99.9% of us are not going to know about our past lives and our soul and our Akashic records and the books in our library and all that. So how did you get involved in this?
Well, because I have realized later that I had lived at least 1,000 lifetimes on this planet. So when I was born, I was very conscious. I could remember not being in a physical body. So my first memory is of about 3 years old, standing like in the kitchen trying to tell my mother probably that I didn't like whatever it was she was cooking. I was a very finicky eater, so I'm sure she was making something I wasn't interested in, and I'm trying to explain to her, and she's looking at me and not understanding. And it was like a epiphany, right, where I'm talking away. She can't understand me because I'm talking baby talk. And I look at my hands. This is literally my memory, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm back in a body. And I'm like 3.
Wow.
I'm a
Wow.
baby. And I started to tell her I wanted to go back, that I wanted to go home, because I could remember being an etheric soul, not in a physical form. So that, started it, that memory stuck with me. And then when I was a teenager and I was really old enough to start reading regular adult books, and I started to read spiritual books that were coming out. This was the late 60s, early 70s, and I started reading some of the new books that were coming out by Baba Ram Dass, Be Here Now, and Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe, who started the Monroe Institute. So I started studying way back in the early 70s to try and understand and figure out what I knew intuitively, what I could remember, and how that actually fit into this world.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I talked to some really interesting people on this show, and I've had several guests on the show that tell me they remember their past lives. I mean, one lady told me she was a witch and she was burned and she remembered and all that. So so again, I'm gonna dive into my curiosity. So why is it that you think that 99.9% of us do not remember our past lives? What's God's plan for that? Why don't we remember? Only a few people remember.
Yeah, our plan truly is to have an experience and not to have all sorts of memory that changes that experience, right? My memories of being a healer in past lives and my memories of being an etheric soul without a body changed my experience of this life, because it actually drove me to start studying spirituality at a very young age. Now, for most of us, what we're coming to Earth for is to learn and grow as a soul. And so the thing is, we write this complicated plan. Let me just show you my new book, That Your Soul Has a Plan.
Mhm.
And so it's all about understanding and awakening to who you are as this infinite soul. So your soul has a plan. Awaken to your life purpose through the Akashic records is that full title. And because before you come into a body, you say, well, I want to go back. So my thinking would have been, I want to go back and actually help bring the Akashic records back to humanity. So I, in an unusual sort of way, want to remember earlier so I can kind of get on this job, get on this task early. Most of us are learning about relationships still, finishing old karmic patterns, working through reclaiming some of these gifts and talents, really remembering again the depth of who we are. And so the idea is we write a whole plan, then we come to earth and we have total amnesia. And so it is an interesting and tricky story, but part of the big thing that we're wanting to remember is to move from believing that we're separate, right? Again, most people believe that we are all alone, trapped in a body, one single life. We're separate from, mother, father, goddess, God. We're just here all by ourselves, struggling along. Most of us kind of believe that we are victims of our circumstances, our families, our situations. And so really the big piece of soul growth and learning is to realize that we are not victims. We wrote the plan. We picked the family. We picked and chose the challenges we wanted to experience in this life so that we could grow. And when we do grow, when we realize greater truths, we are often called to share that with the world in some way. So many of my clients who have been born into very challenging families, whether their parents had addictive patterns or abusive patterns or money issues or challenges, or they had physical challenges, whatever choices their soul made, right? We didn't make of it as a human, as a personality. We made it as a big soul that knows that we're infinite. And so we made these plans and said, I want to come and learn about this so I can share the wisdom I learn with other people. So again, many of these clients turn around and they become therapists or coaches or healers, or they write a book about their experience, or they become podcasters. They start to share their wisdom out in the world because they've really learned something important to share with humanity.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm not quite sure why I was in this space, but as soon as I asked the question, I remember that I actually know the answer. It downloaded somewhere. Because just this morning, Reverend Lisa, I have a morning walk where I walk in the park and the trees and I talk to God, and it's my commune way. And this morning, what popped into my head was my grandbaby. I have a grandbaby that was born at a pound. She came in 4 months premature. And we've had this connection where, I know that she's here for a purpose. And this morning, of all things, I was thinking that I know that you choose your parents. She chose her parents, and I'm saying she chose me as her grandma. And I was just in that space of, yeah, she chose us because she's here to do something. I can help her. And it was just amazing because this little girl is a fighter, born at 23 weeks in a day. The day made her viable because you're not really viable before 23 weeks outside the womb. So yeah, I was in that space this morning. And I know this because I've heard Dr. Dwayne Dwyer talk about how we chose our parents and we chose our experience, and he had a really bad experience. He was in foster care, and his dad abandoned him and all that. And he came to realization that he chose his parents because that experience led him to become, one of the world's top people as far as sharing and things like that. So yeah, so that's amazing. So before I move on to our soul's plan, you wanna speak on what I just talked about, us choosing our parents. You said something similar earlier, but I don't know
Yes,
if you want to
absolutely. It is all part of our soul's plan. So we often have soul contracts with our parents, and sometimes we pick really challenging ones, obviously like Wayne Dyer did. Again, as I say, so many of my clients have been born into very abusive families, or parents that have addictive patterns or alcoholic patterns, and all these kinds of challenges. And often when we're not conscious at all, we just think, I'm a victim of this. This is terrible. Maybe I'll just, check out and do the same thing. I might as well drink right along with them and just check out just like they did. But literally, as we are coming in now, and there is a very important time factor involved, because our world energetically is shifting into the very, very, very beginning of a new golden age. And literally, we've been in this new age of Aquarius for about 50 years. And when you think of a yuga, which is 26,000 years, even when we break it into smaller pieces that are 600 or 800 years, still 50 is a nothing, right? Compared to that whole golden age of 800 years. So what that means is the light is stronger on the planet. The vibration of the earth is rising. More and more and more people are becoming awakened, right? They're becoming more conscious. We're realizing, oh my gosh, I'm actually not a victim of my circumstance. This challenge has helped trigger me to learn something, to grow, to share my wisdom with other people, right? So we often pick these challenges, whether it's our parents that are the challenge, or our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, who are our extended support team. So I have a similar experience where my husband and I raised our nephew. So both of his parents were alcoholic and not present at all. And so he came to live with us, and we could be the love and the support and help, raise him. And now he's just a lovely, lovely man, married, with a little 2-year-old. So my granddaughter, I have a beautiful little 2-year-old granddaughter. And even though I'm aunt by blood, he considers us his parents because his parents weren't around. And we make these different types of contracts that suit us in different sorts of ways. And so we do write contracts. Most of us write 30, 40, 50 soul contracts with other people who are here to support us on one hand, and sometimes to be that trigger of the learning, to be the challenge, like my nephew's his parents were, my brother and sister-in-law, who, of course, often those people come in with a contract also to break free of an addictive pattern. Their soul's desire is that beautiful child, that little light, will wake them up, and they'll realize, oh, this is so much more important. This love, this child is so much more important than my drinking, my pattern, and they can break through it. And often, because we are human, we don't break through it. And so hopefully,
because it takes work, and a lot of people are not interested in doing work. Work is hard, they say.
So much work.
But
right?
You're right. There's a lot more people are being awakened, enlightened. A lot more people. There's a meditative energy and force. 10 years ago, nobody knew what meditation is. Now everybody's meditating. And that's all, allowing people to be awakened, allowing people to be conscious. allowing, people to do the work, to not say that, hey, you know what, this is what I was born into and that's how I'm going to die. So that's amazing. So let's get back on task. So we're talking about the soul's plan. So is the soul's plan a soul's contract? And let's say that I'm sitting here right now and I'm talking to you and I'm in a body, and I've been here for a while, several decades. Should I write one now, or it's already written and I don't know it?
Right. So most of our contracts are already written and we're not aware of them, really.
Okay.
So often the people that we are born, again, like I say, those families, we usually have soul contracts with those individuals. We write contracts for significant partners, for spouses, for best friends, business partners, if our soul is planning on starting its own business, children, grandchildren. So we have those 50 contracts kind of all planned out. And really, we're so much more brilliant than we ever think we are. Because we literally, we know that. We often feel it, just like you feel that you're here to support your beautiful little granddaughter in some big ways.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, people are more conscious, more intuitive, even just as we start to meditate and dive more into our intuitive knowing and trusting those gut feelings, or our conversations with God, just like Neil Donald Walsh has written those books, those great books.
Guess what? I am interviewing him in a couple of weeks.
Right. Yes. So we're part of a book series. My book in that book series is called Akasha. It's
right.
Common
Right. Yes,
Sentience.
he is in the Common Sentience series. Yes,
Right?
exactly. Right.
As in mine. So mine's about the Akashic records, his is God talk. And
Yes.
so it's important that now all of us as spiritual teachers and leaders who have been on this path for 30 years, 20 or 30 years, we've all come together to write this whole series of books. Like now I think there's going to be 15 in this Common Sentience book series to help people understand all aspects. So mine again is Akasha, and there's ones I think you talked to the woman who wrote the book on witches, possibly. Right, which is also Common Sentience book series. So we really do, again, each of us as very wise old souls that are part of this book series have our specialty, right, that we're working with. Mine, of course, the Akashic records, because it's part of source, it's part of the quantum field. We can do so much healing and understanding, and actually energetically start to shift some of the old energies that no longer serve us, because we are in this high, big, expansive vibration of the quantum field. So we've written those contracts, we're working through them. I think it's interesting for people to realize that not every soul contract lasts a whole lifetime also. So sometimes a contract is short. We sometimes have a contract to have a child, but not stay with that partner. And so for single mothers or single fathers, they might resonate with that. The contract was about having the child, less than being with the partner. Just as my contract was very much about, raising my nephew.
Right.
And his mother did not stick around. She passed at when he was only, I think it was a little bit less than 20. And so, we write our own complicated soul contracts to support each other, to teach, to learn, to grow, to complete old karmic patterns. And let me just say that when we talk about karma, it's never about a punishment. So people used to believe that karma was a way of being punished, right? Oh, yeah, karma is going to come back and, it's going to get you.
Are you a mind reader too? Because I'm sitting here thinking about Sadhguru and thinking about what he talked about. If you don't do your karmic death, you're going to come back, and you start talking about karma. Anyway, you finish and then I'll see if I still have a question.
Okay. Right. Well, part of the great gift of being connected through the Akashic records is very much receiving information and downloads. The record keepers are speaking through me to you. But so yes, there is that depth again of connection that most of us believe we don't have, but we truly do. We're all connected through this beautiful infinite field of source. So the way karma works in our world, actually, it's not a punishment. It is about our soul's desire to learn and grow. So that would be, as an example, say I came into a life and maybe this was about 300 years ago, and I'm born into great poverty, and I become a pickpocket, and I start, doing that as work. Now I'm doing it to survive because I can't get a job. I'm an 8-year-old little boy on the streets of London, say.
Mhm.
And that's what I do. And I grow up and possibly, continue as a pickpocket, stealing again, probably don't live a really long life, hard life, still living, very in great poverty. And then my next life, I say, oh gosh, I would like to understand that, because in my last life, I stole a lot of money from people, and that wasn't a very nice thing to do. I wonder what it feels like to be those people that I stole from. So maybe in your next life, you're going to learn, you're going to be on the other side of the coin. I'm going to have somebody pickpocket me, or have somebody, burglar my house, or whatever that might be. And then I get to be, okay, I know what that feels like. I understand that. Now, as I become more conscious of it, I'm actually feeling very sad, and in some ways maybe responsible in my government, in my town, in my world, for the fact that there's these people who all live on the street and they can't get a job and they don't have enough to eat. And so instead of trying to get them thrown in jail, I try and help. Right? Maybe I open a soup kitchen, or I volunteer at a soup kitchen. So that's about completing a karmic pattern. I've had an experience. Instead of going to anger or revenge, I'm going to go to, how can I help? How can I see that soul as an infinite soul having a hard time? What can I do and support? I can work at a soup kitchen. I can volunteer. I could donate money to whatever great good cause. All of the above. And so this is completing karma with ease and grace, because I learned, I grew, and I made a different choice.
Wow. So that's amazing. And you're telling me that before a child is born, well, the soul is in the body. The soul is in the fetus. So as soon as the fetus is, the eggs are, and the sperm and the child is now a fetus, a soul comes into them, and the soul has already decided on the parents and has a contract and know what they're here to do. Well, that's in the Bible, obviously. But yeah, so that is us just putting it in a little nutshell, right?
Right, absolutely. So before your soul even picks a body, it makes a plan. So it writes contracts with all these different souls to be parents, to be siblings, to be grandparents, aunts, uncles, like we said. We plan out. We say before we even come into a body, we're like, so who I'd like to get married and have children. So who wants to be a spouse? Who wants to be my kids? And so we actually get other souls volunteering. And often these other souls are souls we've met in other lifetimes. They may be part of our soul family, which means that your soul is born in a little basket. When you first individuate from source, there's a little group of you that comes together into this infinite world, not straight to earth, but right into kind of more source energy to start to discover this multiverse, this quantum field of the divine. And so we travel around together. So we're actually born with like a family, just like you're born into a family when we come to earth. But that family is infinite with us. And often they play the roles of parents or grandparents or spouses or children. And so we do plan all that out before those two people come together and even create that baby. So we plan it out, way in advance.
Yeah. Now I have a question here that just popped into my mind as you were talking. That beautiful experience that you shared with us when you were 3 years old, and you said, you looked at your hands and says, I'm in a body. So talk to us about the spirits or the souls that don't have any body. What are they doing? How do you remember that? And how do you know you don't have a body? My goodness, this is deep.
So, I'm going to say most of the realms, there's so many dimensions and realms out there where I'm told, right? I can only receive information from the record keepers and from source, and the way I get to see all of this is explained, that we're more etheric, infinite souls, right? We live forever. We have more of an energetic light body, not a solid physical body. So your etheric body never dies. Your soul never dies. I do believe at some point after we've journeyed about through Earth and the galaxies and the multiverse, that we do return into the oneness, just like we came out of the oneness and really embodied, it came in as an individuated soul. I believe eventually, after billions of years, or who knows what, but no time, space really, that we individuate back in, or we merge back in, we become one again with source. Anyway, so my experience was, my feeling is that I was actually with two other souls. So in this memory, there were three of us, and we were conversing, but we didn't need to use all these words because we have telepathy. We have an energetic understanding. We didn't need to explain. You could almost send someone the story, the image, the pictures, the feelings, all of that. They would just understand it, what you were sharing with them, without language like we use it. So here I was, I believe I was talking to two souls that I was coming in to be with. And then probably shortly after that experience, I was born. And so it was probably about my last memory as an etheric soul before I was 3. Okay. So of course, I went through the babyhood until I kind of had that trigger of, oh my gosh, that's right. I can remember saying, I'll see you on the other side, right? See you soon. And
that is so beautiful. My goodness, I'm loving this conversation. So how does your past lives affect our present life? I think you kind of mentioned that a minute ago. If we did some bad things in our past lives, we will want to do something good or to fix that. But the karmic that we have heard about until Sadhguru started saying that karma is not you do something bad, it'll come back to you. It is, he says, is the memory. Karma is like a memory. So does God say, okay, you did something bad in a past life and you've got to pay for it in a new life? Does any of that stuff happen? Or do you know?
I would say that we, as very infinite and very wise souls, and because there are many of us, and I do believe that we have areas or realms of the Akashic records where we're working with other wiser souls who are saying, so, you finished all this karma, you've been on earth many times, maybe you want to bring some of these gifts back or complete that old pattern. So I wouldn't name it as a God as much as a group of the infinite souls who are supporting each other to learn and to grow and to have really beautiful experiences and empowering experiences. And so my kind of story would be that when we come, we also want to bring gifts and talents. So yes, we want to learn and grow. We want to understand that karmic pattern. We'd like to complete it so we can share the wisdom we have. That's kind of one piece. We have souls we want to support in this soul contract aspect of I want to support you and I want to be your parent, or I'm going to be your business partner and help you to do this work. Whatever all of our 50 or 100 soul contracts are about. But we've also honed gifts and talents in these many, many lifetimes. And so many of us come back to share that wisdom. Maybe we have been scientists in many other lifetimes or other realms or worlds that have more advanced science. Maybe we have been healers. Maybe we've been doctor types, right? Maybe we grew herbs and understand how food can be a medicine in its own right. So we might come back and become a nutritionist, or maybe we come back and we become a nurse, or we become a doctor, or we share those gifts we've actually developed in many other lifetimes. And so the kind of interesting and funny story that I'd love to share about my experience was that, of course, I was born very awake. So I started to study spirituality as a teenager. I was studying all the books I could get my hands on when I was in high school. I studied philosophy at the university. And eventually I went on and started to study healing, and I became an energy healer and intuitive. And I had a healing center, and I had 3 children and plus my nephew, I had 4 kids, and I was juggling all of this. And one day I was doing I was doing an energy healing for a client. And all of a sudden, I got this really expansive information. It was more than I ever got intuitively as a healer about whatever was going on in their body, or whatever problems or challenges or traumas they were experiencing. And what happened is this information came through about some past life karma, some past life trauma that was still affecting them, some contracts they had with this life, what they did, some of their purposes. We don't have one purpose. Most of us have 4 or 6 purposes, right? We'd be so bored if we had one purpose. So this information, I was like, wow, I literally felt like I moved from kind of having a conversation with your higher self to in this expanse of information and energy and wisdom. And it took me a while to figure out who this was that I was speaking to. And I eventually realized that I was connecting into my clients' Akashic records. Now, again, back in the 90s, the Akashic records were pretty unheard of still, right?
So that's how you started working in this particular field?
Yes, I actually kind of stumbled into the energy of the Akasha. They started to talk to me. And so I said to them, they said, we'd like you to start a school. We'd like you to teach other people how to do this. And we'd like you to write a book. And I said, me with my hands on my hips, what are you, crazy? I've got 3 kids. I've got a nephew. I am busy here. I've got a healing center. I've got a family. Why would you ask some lady in the suburbs? Right?
That is funny.
Right? I'm like, you got the wrong woman here. I think you are talking to the wrong person. And so I said, why me? Right? Because I'm thinking you're crazy. And their answer was, because you were one of us. And I said, what? Can you explain that better, please? And they said, when you originally individuated from source, before you came to earth, before you went on a journey, you worked in the Akashic libraries. You were in service to other human beings, to other souls, to other galactic beings, right? You were one of us. So you can hear us. Obviously, most people can't hear us. Most people can't get us. Most people can't converse with us, but you can, because you were one of us. So that was, if you think about it in the big picture, that was one of the gifts and talents I chose to bring to earth now. So not only past life gifts and talents, sometimes bigger gifts and talents that we've honed in other ways. And so becoming kind of being able to anchor the Akashic records back on the planet, being able to start a school, write 4 books, all of which I've channeled from the Akashic record keepers. That was the gift that I came, really my bigger overview soul purpose, if you want to look at a big purpose. Many of us have big purposes around big patterns, like completing kind of big patterns, like bringing the Akashic records to earth, bringing a new healing modality, being an inventor, holding the light, being the love. These are purposes, right? For many of us, sharing this wisdom that we are understanding now. So that is kind of my wild and crazy example of a past life purpose that showed up in my life. And I was like, what are you, nuts? You know.
That's amazing. You must feel pretty good after you learned that and you're conscious of it. That's beautiful. So
Yes,
this is a good intro to tell us about your book, Your Soul Has a Plan. Awaken to Your Life's Purpose Through Akashic Records. So,
yeah, so
you know why you wrote it.
Right. This is why, because it really does. And so, you know, I do literally channel them. I sit down, I open, the record keepers say to me first, they say, it's time to write another book. And I say, okay, what are we writing about? I have one of my books, From Questioning to Knowing, has 73 healing prayers that I've channeled through the Akashic records. And so, you know, they're all different. And this one really, the record keeper said, it's important for people to realize that you're not a victim, that you made that plan and what's in that plan. And so we talk about a little bit what we've touched on here, that you do have this whole plan and manual, that you have those soul contracts with people to learn and to grow and to support them. We have many purposes that we look at as gifts and talents that we've brought in often from other lifetimes. We have amazing wisdom because we are very infinite when we can start to tap into that and realize we're not just these little, you know, bodies, not just this little life. We have so much more information and wisdom that we're holding onto, right? And that when we get stuck in a lot of our emotional pain and trauma, that can block us from creating what we've come to create. And the record keepers really want us to realize that when we can understand and start to shift our view of the trauma or being a victim, we can consciously start to rethink the way we see the world, right? As I was explaining, instead of that pickpocket just sending him off to jail, starting to think about, what can we change in our society so that people don't have to steal just to survive, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're starting to realize that as we can balance our world, bring abundance into balance, that there's food for everyone, when we can bring our masculine and our feminine energy back into balance, all, of course, all religions, all colors, all everything back into equality and balance, then we can create heaven on earth. But until we do that, we're stuck in the dichotomy. We're still stuck in right or wrong, good or bad. So when I teach people, I've taught thousands of people all around the world in my online workshops to access their own Akashic records. And the record keepers, that was one of their big requests. Start a school. This is everyone's birthright. when you can read your own records, you can understand who you are as an infinite soul and stop thinking about yourself as just a poor little human, right? Just a challenged little person.
I want to know mine. Yes, very, very curious. Yes, yes. I definitely know that I have some contracts. The moment I met my husband, I know he was part of my soulmate. I knew it from the very moment. And a lot of people say that, they see someone and they say that you're going to be my wife. And I'm listening to you, and you're saying we're making contracts for spouses and children and all that. And that's why, and you're thinking that it's, I don't know, chemistry or something, but it's actually like a contract or something. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in learning more on this. So tell us, where can people, are you still doing the school? Where can people learn to understand their soul contracts? I know, like reading your book, in your book, do you share that, or they have to go to the school?
So a couple of different things. So in the newest book, Akasha, that's part of the Common Sentience series, I give you, actually teach you my 5-step wisdom prayer system. So you can read my books in Akasha and the Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records. I teach you how to open your own records. So nice. It is, it's right there in a book, but I also teach online in a 16-hour workshop because it's very ancient wisdom. It's a very high vibration that most of us have never touched or experienced. And so kind of going from our 3D world into source quantum field takes a little more assistance than reading a book. Now, a lot of people do read my books and they get it and they email me and they were like, I'm so excited I can read my record. So try out the books. My website is Akashic Knowing, just as you see, just spelled as it is on the above me. AkashicKnowing.com, one word, is my website where you'll see my upcoming live online workshops. And so you can find those there. I try and teach quite a few times a year. And I even do a training that takes you through Akashic self-mastery so you can understand your past lives, your gifts and talents, the purposes you've brought, the contracts you've written, more about your ancestral lineage. So in course 1, I teach you how to open and read your records using my 5-step wisdom prayer system. In course 2, the completion of self-mastery, I teach you how to go into all of these amazing in-depth realms to really understand who you are as this infinite soul. And then I have a bigger year-long program for all of you who are interested in starting a spiritual business. There's so many of my students say, I would like to quit the corporate world and do something that's more spiritual. So I have trained certified Akashic record consultants and healers. I've trained over 50 of them over the years. And so I do that in online workshops also. So you'll find my
part of your contract.
That is part of it.
Yes, go ahead.
Right now, I'm just saying. So if you go to AkashicKnowing.com, you will find all my 4 books. You will find my upcoming live Akashic self-mastery class. You can read more about Akashic career mastery workshops. And I do one-on-one personal Akashic readings also for clients, because so many people just want to understand. They want to learn more about, what did I write in my soul plan? What contracts do I have? Are some of them complete yet? Is it, am I ready to access more of these gifts or talents to be that healer or that Akashic consultant? So I do one-on-one readings also. So you will find all of that on my website.
Wow, I love it. I think I'll start with the book and then see where else I want to go to. But yes, I probably will need help. I've been trying to understand the quantum field and to be in it, and I meditate, but you're right. The vibration has to be right.
Right, absolutely. And that's why there's so
Yes.
many people coming back at this point, people like me who have had 1,000 lifetimes on earth where we've really honed these talents, where we've been spiritual leaders or teachers in many, many other lifetimes, where we've been healers in many, many, many other lifetimes, so that we could remember early on at 3 or at 15,
Yeah, yeah,
and
right.
start to, and it's still been a process, right? I'm in my mid 60s. It's been a process that I've been working at seriously for 50 years.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
having someone, a spiritual leader or teacher, hold the energy field for you to teach you
Mm.
many different tools. And that's one of the things we do in my 16-hour online Akashic Course 1 is I teach you 15-minute guided visualizations to call back your energy, to create a beautiful rainbow shield so you can be guided, guarded, and protected as you walk through your life, to the 5-step wisdom prayer system to easily use access keys to open and move into the Akashic records. So we're not just trying to do it through meditation or hoping or guessing, right? So
Yeah,
having a
no,
teacher is very,
it's
very
it's not
helpful.
working.
Right. Having a teacher. Well, maybe try one of my books and maybe you'll
Yes,
join one of my classes.
I
And,
will. I will, because I love that. I love purpose. I think that what I'm doing, I understand. Listen, I'm just a baby, but I like to get meat.
right,
I'm just a
right.
baby in my knowledge. I like for it to grow. And yes, talking to you, they said that a mind that's expanded with knowledge can never return. And talking to you has expanded my knowledge. And yes, I want more.
It is beautiful. It is a beautiful path. And it's true,
Yes.
right? They always say, you can't go back once you start to
Yeah.
learn and grow. You really
Yeah.
can't go back. But who would want to? I can see so much the world in such a different way as you start to understand who you've been, what you've done, why you're here now, the people you've come to support, the people you've come to learn from. And again, some of that learning is about completing old karmic patterns, but that's about your soul's growth, and that's what the soul wants, is growth, right? So we as humans want to grow and expand, and our soul is really on that same journey. So it's so fun to get to spend this time and share this with you and with everyone. So thank you for having me
Yeah,
on.
that is amazing. I hope you guys are as excited as me to listen to Lisa and understand about our souls contracts and understand that we have a contract, or we have contracts that we came here to do. And I love what you say, that sometimes there's a saying that says some people come into your life for a season, some people come into your life for a reason, and some people come into your life forever, right? And so that actually, kind of binds to what you said, that your contracts is not sometimes forever. People come and go, and that's the way you wrote it.
Right, right.
So yes, understanding and and yeah, listen, I believe knowledge is power, and I am like a lifelong learner. I love learning. Every week that I come on here and I speak to guests, I'm learning. So I'm a big old encyclopedia now.
I love that. And what a blessing you are to share that with everyone. It really is, a beautiful soul contract to be able to be that beautiful woman sharing wisdom, all sorts of ideas and concepts with everyone who's listening, and really bringing that out into the world. And so, again, as we look at these contracts and these purposes, right? So obviously that is a big part of your purpose, or one of your purposes. But again, being a grandmother to that beautiful little girl, being right, to
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
mother, and
yes,
being
yes.
right, a partner, all of these are
Mhm.
parts. And pieces and parts. And it is a beautiful thing to realize that sometimes our challenges are really the trigger that we need to grow and to change trajectory in our life, right? So sometimes it feels like we're walking across the room to that door and everything is going along kind of in a humdrum sort of way. Maybe we're not really happy, but we don't know what else to do. And someone comes in and they share something, some information, knowledge, wisdom, and we're like, oh, and we turn and go off in a different direction, and our trajectory just changed. And maybe that person woke us up, and that was a very short contract to help wake us up. Maybe they become a teacher or a friend on that journey, right? Maybe that's the friend who takes you to a meditation class or to yoga, or invites you to join them in an Akashic record workshop or whatever it is. But you've changed your kind of maybe humdrum everyday life, and we're like, oh, there's more out there. Wow, thank you for showing up and being that catalyst. And then maybe that person disappears, but you've catalyzed that path, that spiritual seeker journey, and now you're on that journey. So it is a beautiful process of journeying through life. There's, there, like the record keepers always say, nothing is written in stone. We really have this beautiful, beautiful, ongoing, evolving purposes and path. And so really being open and excited to see what's next. What else can I learn? What else can I do? What else can I share? Where else can I go? Right? All of that.
Yeah, that's me here. What else can I learn? In fact, when I select guests, it's like, is this something I want to learn?
Of course.
That's how I select them, So this has been beautiful. Last question. You said you love social media. What are your handles?
They're all Akashic Knowing, one word. So Facebook would be / Akashic Knowing, as is Instagram and LinkedIn, all of them. Akashic Knowing, one word. So I just tried to make it easy.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, guys, the word Akashic is spelled Akashic. But I will have a transcript of my conversation with Reverend Lisa on the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us. And I will link out to her page, her social media, and all her books. So all you need to do is head over to the show page and click. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life. My mind has been blown. Yes, and I want to learn more. I hope that you want to learn more. So definitely head over and start by the book, and then you can have one-on-one. You can have the 16-hour course. And to me, what this does is it gives you encouragement for your journey. And encouragement and hope is a good thing, because a lot of times we are stuck in a doldrum and we were out of hope. And, if we both mentioned Dr. Wayne Dwyer earlier, he had a horrible start to his childhood, to his world, right? And then he transcended into an amazing human, as far as, and he's, he's no longer alive. I'm pretty sure he's one of the angels, or he's back again doing something else. But here we have in front of us a real live person that has walked the path that we don't remember walking, but that we all did. And if she's here for any other purpose other than to open our minds and encourage us that, whatever difficulty we might be going through right now, it all has a purpose, right? And if you understand your soul's contracts and understand what you came here to do, listen, you will embrace struggle, right? So you will embrace struggle, because you know that you're either fixing a karmic debt or you're here to learn from it. So thank you so much. Yes, I'm going to run out and get your book right away and maybe take your class. And
Thank
yes,
you.
so thank you.
Thank you, Myrna. It's been such a pleasure and a joy, and I look forward to having you in class. We're live on Zoom, so I'll get to
Yes,
you get to
yes,
ask questions live, and
yes,
it's very fun.
yes. Because I definitely know that I'm part of a purpose. You know, we don't have time, but when you talked about someone coming in your life that changed the trajectory, how do you think I became a life coach? I just saw the word in a newspaper that I never really read. Nobody reads newspaper anymore. And I just picked up this newspaper because I always have inspired action. Picked up this newspaper, was flipping through it, saw this, and she obviously had the contract. A lady from my church that was in the newspaper, and she had the word life coach under her name. And I says, that's what I'm supposed to be. Just like that, immediately like that.
I love it.
So listen, I know that I'm being guided. I know that I'm supposed to be here to do something. And you just offered me encouragement that I should learn more.
Thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, listen, thanks again. And I'm looking forward to talking to Neil Donald Walsh. Wow. Listen, when I read the book, the first book of Conversation with God, I was blown away. And now I know, now that I'm researching for the interview, he has 4 of those. And now he also has his new book, God Talks. So that's what we were talking about. So that's amazing. All right, Lisa, listen, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to share space with you and talk to you about your important work and the work you're doing for humanity. Thank you so much. As we wrap up, any last words?
I just want to thank you for being perfectly on your soul's purpose and sharing all this wisdom with everyone. So you really are a gift. And thank you so much. And just really want everyone to feel the beautiful energy from the Akashic records, because it is pure source energy. It is pure love, just expansive, divine wisdom. And so hopefully you'll all just check in energetically with what we've shared with you, the energy of the Akasha. And I look forward to meeting many of you in a one-on-one or in my class, or just enjoy my books.
Yes,
So
sure.
much.
Meet you there. All right. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, namaste. Bye, Lisa.
Bye-bye.